So I'm Hasriti Singh. I'm the co-leader for Evaluate Sri Lanka. And next slide, please. Yeah. So this is the session 4 of Third APIA Conference and Evaluate 2020, the role of YEEs in building the evaluation ecosystem. So YEEs are involved in gathering evidence and conducting evaluation across the board. While they may be less experienced, they do bring the table their own unique skills, sets, willingness to learn, and desire to make a difference. Me, myself, as an YE, I strongly believe that we have a crucial role in strengthening evaluation system through efforts in capacity building, networking, structured data collection, communication, action sort of like that. In this roundtable, we have YEs sharing their involvement in their organizations in building an evaluation ecosystem, including private and government officials and evaluate networks. And now I will pass the floor to our session moderator. Next slide, please. Our session moderator, Umesh Jadhav, and he's from Evaluate India. He's a co-leader for Evaluate India. Umesh, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Namo Vishesh, and greetings from all of us and the organizers. Welcome to this roundtable panel discussion on the role of YEs in developing evaluation ecosystem. Today, we will be celebrating the contribution of youngsters and especially the 6 dynamic young leaders in monitoring and evaluation field. We have with us today May, who is our chair of this session. We also are joined with Digvijay Singh, who is a program officer at a nutrition mission at Women and Child Development Department at Government of Maharashtra. We also have Niharika Sharma, who is a senior analyst, MEL at IP Global. We are joined with Sakio. Sakio is an M&E assistant at UNFPA Pacific. Sakio is also secretary at Evaluate Pacific. Evaluate is an youth movement for bringing youngsters in monitoring and evaluation field and professional development. We are joined with Mark. Mark is vice chair of Evaluate Global, and also he is co-founder of Africa Evaluate Network. And also we have with us Hemanshu Dubey, who is currently working as young professional fellow at DMEO, Niti Aayog, which is the official policy think tank of Government of India. What we will be doing is, obviously, we will be discussing their experiences and the learnings from individual, their domain and expertise, but also we'll be discussing how young evaluators and students can contribute in building the evaluation ecosystem. So thank you so much for joining. Over to you, May, for your opening remark.
Thank you so much, Umesh. Can you hear me well, everyone? Hello?
Yes.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Mabuhay from the Philippines. So I'm Dorothy May Alviento. I'm a co-leader at the EVA Youth Asia. Thank you so much for joining us in this session entitled The Role of Young and Emerging Evaluators in Building the Evaluation Ecosystem. As Hasati shared earlier, YEs do really play a critical role in the evaluation ecosystem. We hold varied roles in a wide array of organizations to support evaluations, from collecting data on the ground to leading and conducting evaluations. I used to say that YEEs are the future leaders of the evaluation field, but that's just partly true, right? Because we are not just the future, we are in our own way also the present leaders of the evaluation field. We lead evaluation initiatives to strengthen evaluation systems and structures at the national, regional, and global levels. For us at Eval Youth Asia, our goal is to promote youth involvement in evaluations and support the capacity building and empowerment of young and emerging evaluators in the Asia Pacific region. Since Evaluate Asia was established in December of 2019, We have conducted various capacity building initiatives for YEEs, including 2 virtual winter schools. In partnership with APEA, we have P2P career development sessions for those who are interested in the M&E field. We have also worked with APEA in supporting the establishment of national evaluate chapters in various countries in the region. And as co-leaders, we are also actively involved as co-team members of the Asia Pacific Regional Evaluation Strategy. But Evaluate Asia is just one of the many evaluation structures that support and empower YEEs, as you might have heard from our speakers in the earlier sessions. So, for our panel discussion this afternoon, we have invited YEs who have been working with different development organizations here in the Asia Pacific region mainly to talk about how young and emerging evaluators can get engaged in evaluation initiatives and also contribute to building and strengthening the evaluation ecosystem at the national, regional, and global levels. So by the end of this panel discussion, we hope that our YEE audience and those who are here and considering to start a career in evaluation, I hope we all would gain practical insights and tips from our panelists to help guide us in moving forward in our evaluation journey and in contributing to the strengthening of evaluation systems in our countries or at the regional and global levels. As a YEE myself, not so young, but I look forward to this discussion as well. And I hope we can all learn from and with one another. So I encourage everyone to also join in the discussion by sharing your comments and questions in the chat box. Again, welcome everyone, and let's have a lively and interactive discussion in this session. Over to you, Umesh.
Thank you, May. And now I invite our panelists to introduce their work with all of us. Over to you, Digvijay.
Thank you, Umesh. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So my name is Digvijay. I am working as Program Officer at Health and Nutrition Mission at Department of Women and Child Development, Government of Maharashtra. Primarily an engineer by basic training. And then I did my master's at IIT Bombay. It's an interdisciplinary program of policy, data, and social sector. After that, I started working as a consultant with UNICEF Maharashtra office, and then eventually now working at the government system. So my journey has been, so to say, a theoretical person who understand concepts of monitoring evaluation in classroom. Then through UNICEF, how I gradually started working with the government and what are the practical implications or practical implementation challenges of all those concepts which I learned in classroom. And now sitting on the other side of table in the government system, what are the challenges and how do we bring that concept of evidence-based policy making into reality and day-to-day facing the challenges of that. That is what I'm dealing with now. My journey has been, apart from, of course, learning, there has been a lot of unlearnings. The things which I have been taught in my classroom, lot of those things I had to unlearn during my course of working with the government and with the system. And yeah, so that's the short introduction of myself. And
yeah, thank you so much, Digvijay. We also have with us Niharika. So Niharika, may I request you to introduce yourself and your work?
Thank you, and Namaste from India. I'm Niharika, and I work as a senior analyst with IPE Global, which is an international development consulting firm in their independent monitoring and evaluation practice. I've been an evaluator probably all my career, all my 2-year-long career. I have a background in economics and have been an independent evaluator for the likes of Gates Foundation, UNCDF, UNICEF on different kinds of projects ranging from food systems, nutrition security, youth empowerment, and very recently on climate change adaptation. Have had the privilege to work in India as well as a couple of other South Asian and African countries. And mixed methods research is something that I really enjoy a lot. along with my OECD DAC lethal weaponry of tools. So I think I've really enjoyed exploring different sectors as a young evaluator in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, we have with us Sakio. So Sakio, will it be okay if you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mesh. Bulavinaka, and greetings to all of you, the host and our audience today. My name is Sakio Mode, and I'm from Fiji. Currently, the Monitoring and Evaluation Assistant at UNFP Pacific, and also Secretary of the Evaluate Pacific. I'm also part of the one of the national NGOs here in Fiji as a M&E advisor, voluntary M&E advisor. It called Integrity Fiji, and Integrity Fiji is the national contact for Transparency International. And I look forward to share my experience and answer some of the questions that the facilitator have for me in this session.
Thank you so much, Sakio. I will now request Mark for his introductions and his work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mesh. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. As you've heard, my name is Mark Mulobi. I'm a volunteer, and I help in leading a number of global network, or rather regional networks for emerging evaluators. That is the Evaluate Global Network. I'm the co-chair, and at Africa level, I'm the co-chair also for the Young and Emerging. I also volunteer with IRIPE, an international organization for professionalization of evaluation. I'll be talking briefly around that as we continue. And my work, I work as a consultant for United Nations Foundation. Currently, I'm supporting 2 programs in Sierra Leone. We are helping the government there do an enterprise architecture, and I'm supporting on the male side of it. And also here in Kenya, I'm doing a program. I'm also supporting a program where we are developing a digital template, maturity template for countries for other countries to learn. And I'm happy I'm enjoying the digital space. It's quite interesting to see, and I'm happy to be here for discussions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. We all of us should acknowledge that we are volunteers first. I really like that. Now I want to request Hemanshu to introduce his work with us.
Hi everyone. So I'm Hemanshu. I started my journey as an electrical engineer, and after completing my graduation, I did my Masters in Technology and Development from Sitara, IIT Bombay. So during my Masters, while I was working on my final year project, and after completing that, I worked as a research fellow at Ministry of Rural Development. And at that time, I was working on DDU-GKY, one of the skill development schemes of Government of India, where I actually had most of my ground experience working on the field. And at that time, I realized that there is a need to have a more direct feedback link between the beneficiary and the decision maker. And after completing my fellowship period there, I also to understand how the programs work at a state level. I worked as a consultant in establishing the first skill development university of Government of NCT of Delhi for a very short span of time. And then I joined Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office, which is an attached office of Niti Aayog. So, and it is also in a way the premier body for conducting monitoring and evaluation as far as the programs and the schemes of the government are concerned. And we are here working on interesting and challenging schemes and designing evaluations for them. Thank you. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Himanshu. So what a wonderful panel we have. We have representation from almost 3 continents, and we have so much diversity in the kind of work all of these esteemed panelists have done. We also have quite wonderful gender representation with with a good mix of panelists. Now I request, so what we'll do is we'll start the panel discussion. The format of this session will be a roundtable panel discussion where we will ask moderated question to each of the panelists, and then they will share their opinions and view, and we'll pass on questions to everybody. I request all participants to type out if they have any questions during any of the answers. If they have any curious questions, they can post it in the chat box. We will be taking your questions after we finish our moderated questions. So with that, I will start the roundtable discussion with all of us. It's very interesting when I was reading for this conference that in last decade, the importance of evidence has emerged for all the sustainable development goal. And I think monitoring and evaluation domain plays a very crucial role into this. And I want to start off this discussion with a question to Mark. And Mark, especially like as this current decade is dedicated for Evolve for Action as a call for all the WOPEs and organization to help make this movement into very professional and in a systematic method of strengthening all the evaluation method. How do you see a role for young evaluators in this movement of professionalization of the entire domain of monitoring and evaluation?
Thank you, Umesh. Thank you, Umesh. I would like to say that the youth, they have the vital and most central role when you are talking about professionalization of evaluation. As earlier on, we've been talking about youth being the future. And I've heard Marcos Igone say that actually they are not the future, they are for the today. They are the efforts for today. So the youth are very central in shaping this and involving them in the, when you are in the conversation of professionalization of evaluation, will shape the world tomorrow. And I'm saying this with a lot of strength that leaders need to listen now. We've been engaging at IRIPE. We had a global consultation where we wanted to hear from other people, because we are conceptualizing professionalization of evaluation in, and we want to shape it, because essentially evaluation is not seen as a career. We cannot see, it's not seen as doctor, as being a lawyer. It's an afterthought. Actually, most of the evaluators you find, they identify themselves as accidental evaluators. They just found themselves in the space, yeah. But we wanted to shape the conversation, and we held a global discussion. We've developed, and actually a number of years that I would mention their name, Anaerika, Randika, myself, we've been very vital in developing the knowledge products and materials. And again, also scoping at the larger area where we are seeing professionalization being very key and that comes by building the capacity, the theoretical bits of evaluation. I want to share a few materials that my fellow colleagues here on this call today, they can scout and see, because we have a number of NGOs, international organizations, which do and offer capacity buildings in evaluation. We have CARE International, the UN agencies. Then we have the universities from North America to the Latin America to here in Africa. I'm going to share this product. It's a study that we did with APIA, and it will be very good for anyone here to scout and be able to see what is offered within their region. And again, I also wanted to share, let me post on the chat. This is something that the youth in America developed. We launched their network last week. They have actually mapped all the VOPEs, anything that revolves around evaluation within the North America region. they have mapped and they have this. And now us from Evaluate, we are trying to borrow this so that we help all the other regions to adapt and have this sort of this material, so that we ensure that because there are plenty of opportunities for the young people, plenty of people who are willing to help, so that the youth, the YEEs don't miss out. Yeah, I know I've talked too much, but let me post on the chat the materials that I'm talking about.
That will be very helpful, Mark. And I encourage all the participants to have a look towards the material. I want to know, while the panelists were introducing themselves, Himanshu's introduction caught my attention because he works with DMEO, Niti Aayog, which is the apex body for MNE and also for policy, research and think tank in India. And Himanshu, as we all know, monitoring and evaluation helps in almost every domain of your government's work and all national programs. Yet, we are seeing a recent trend in development of MNE as a specialized ecosystem in India, right? With a strategic role. Your organization setup of DMEO as a separate unit within Niti Aayog is also a sign of importance towards that. So how was your experience with this, and how do you think youngsters and especially young professionals have a role in development of this strategic MEL ecosystem in India?
Yes, Umesh, thanks for asking that question. I definitely feel young professional has a much greater role in this ecosystem, because if I talk about DMEO also, then DMEO works on multiple fronts in the M&E ecosystem, and the young professionals here working as the flag bearer of each of the initiatives of DMEO. So we work on multiple things here. For example, if I talk specifically about the strategic policy making, then we have specific dedicated vertical for evaluations where we advocate evidence-based policy making. We directly engage in evaluations of government schemes and programs, conducting large-scale studies, collecting data. So we do that directly. Then the second thing we do is creation of OOMF framework, output outcome monitoring framework, for each of the schemes and programs of different ministries and departments of the union government, and as well as the capacity building in the same thing for the states. So this OOMF document that we create, that goes as an integral part of the budget document and is placed before the parliament. Another thing that the YPs get a platform here to directly share their comments with the respective ministries and the departments during the scheme appraisal process. As a part of scheme appraisal process, the scheme documents, the EFC-SFCs are shared with the young professionals in the NITI and DMEO, and we get a chance to comment on them directly, and those are reviewed again by the ministries and the departments. We here also work on performance note, where we analyze different schemes of each of the departments and report their progress and achievement, and also identify the challenges that they are facing, and report the same through official channels to a higher authority. So there are multiple things on which DMEO works, and there is a data governance quality index, there is global indices to drive reform and growth. So there are many things in which the young professionals work here, and they just don't work on a particular assignment. They work on multiple things simultaneously. So they're involved in all the activities, so they get to know everything. So I would say at DMEO or in NITI general, it provides you the best possible platform if you want to engage in the strategic policy making space. If you want to work with the government, then it is the best possible platform that you can look for.
Yes. Thank you so much, Himanshu. And obviously, the government of every state government and national government will have a large monitoring and evaluation framework, but what I have realized is a lot of private companies are also ensuring that they follow standard monitoring practices, and some of these companies provide MLE services to other organizations. And we have with us Niharika, who works at IP Global. So Niharika, I want to understand from you what kind of work you do at IP Global, and how there is a scope for youngsters and young professionals who want to work in M&E, even in private domain?
Thanks, Umesh. So I think it's very well recognized the kind of role the private sector plays along with the government in sort of nation building, right? And I think what we've also heard ad nauseum, I think, with young professionals is that you need work X to start an evaluation career, but you really wouldn't have that experience to get your job in the first place, right? It's a paradox. I think private organizations really do help break that vicious cycle, because if seasoned and if I put it that way, seasoned and experienced folks are the heads of these brilliant organizations, private organizations, then the young people are the heart of these organizations, driving most of the evaluation work that we do, especially at IP. We are very young MEL team, right? And how does this help? Because you are driving evaluation work from end to end, right? From conceptualization, working along with the your client, if I would put it that way, doing data collection, analyzing, and at 21, if you get to present to the World Food Prize winner, it's a win in terms of your confidence, it's a win in terms of your skills, I think. And secondly, as a private organization, you get to work with a very vast spectrum of stakeholders, with governments, with NGOs, INGOs, and multilaterals. Each of these organizations have a very different way of working, and that also enables and challenges their own programming. And it's a very important aspect if you look at the efficiency aspects of programming, right? So it really helps the young, I think, at a young if you're young and if you want to understand how different kinds of organizations work and how they affect their programming, it's a wonderful way. Third point would be private organizations become sector agnostic. So as Himanshu was mentioning, you work on multiple projects. Likewise, I think there's a lot of dynamism. You can explore different approaches in a particular domain, or you can explore different domains. And I also think that because of the sheer scale of some of the private organizations, you can experience different states in a country like India, and they are very different. You can experience different countries within a continent, or you can even experience different continents. And all of that coming at a young age, I think, adds to number one, skill building, and number two, confidence. Because at times, the confidence and the imposter syndrome that we sort of go through when we are working with a lot of experienced professionals also comes into play. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niharika. Between you and Hemanshu almost covered the private and government experience of working in M&E domain. Sakio, I want to take this discussion to you and ask you, with regard to all this opportunity that Hemanshu and Niharika also mentioned. We see that a lot of funding agencies also are very particular about the kind of evidence that they ask for evergreening of proposals or new proposals. So in all this aspect, whether you're working with government, private, or in community organizations, can you explain some opportunities for YEEs? What kind of opportunities are there, both as a consultant or a full-time employee, or also as a volunteer?
Thank you so much, Umesh. I think that's a good question. Yes, indeed, a lot of agencies, implementing agencies nowadays, emphasizing the importance of evidence-based funding, and I think proper planning, monitoring, evaluation activities are important in these areas, and these are the kind of work that monitoring and evaluation people does. And yes, I think the reason why they are emphasizing the importance of evidence-based funding is that the money that they are giving to implement, to sponsor a project or program, to implement activities are tax-based fund, and it's important for D2 bearers, it's important for implementing agencies to deliver the activities, to achieve outputs, to produce outcome, and track all these changes, track the transformational impact that these activities, that those interventions have managed to do. and report it and do the honorable things, give back the report to the funders, to the people that are funding them, and let them know about the good work that you've done, the transformational change that you've also managed to do. And I think that's the context. And having said that, coming back to your questions, I think there's a lot of opportunities for young emerging evaluators. They can always be a monitoring evaluation assistant, monitoring evaluation officer, monitoring evaluation analyst, because these are entry level to this area of work. It's at the very basic level. And I think there are opportunities for them both in government and in the non-government organization as well. And I think it's also fair to say that some of the projects and programs are funded by donor agencies always incorporate M&E component into the project, into the program, and these are always part of the agreement or the project, and so I think young emerging evaluators can also become a project officer or program officers, program staffs, and I think they will be the best in this because while joining the movement and the evaluate, I think you'll be exposed to capacity building, you'll be exposed to training, and this will tax your thinking to be a critical thinker, and you think like one evaluator as you implement projects and programs, and all throughout the implementation phase, you'll be assessing and giving recommendations and suggestions on how best the project and program should be implemented, and you are also being genuine to ensure that whatever you do does make an impact, and of course that's what funders and that's what the people want, for everybody to enjoy lives in this world and to have a better life. Thank you.
Yes, and actually, Sakio, you mentioned a very important role for youngster is the way if they can contribute into the managing of various development programs, and I think this is a stellar panel because we have among us a program officer who is running a nutrition program for a state with more than 12 crores of population. So, Digvijay, let me take this discussion ahead to you. How does a state see and work with evidence that is generated through the field, right? We have seen Hemanshu said that at a central level, at a union government level, there are policies made, but it is completely different when it comes to state where most of these policies are implemented. So we want to understand within your experience, how is evidence generated and being used at a state, and how there is a scope of robust M&E practices at a state government.
Thank you. So, as one of the unlearnings which I had working with the government system, that we talk about, evidence-based decision making. Most of the time, because of various reasons, it is like decision-based evidence generation in the system. If at all there is required to generate evidence, most of the decisions which happen are happening in a room based upon the decision makers or influencers' previous experiences, backgrounds, perceptions, and evaluation is very far off. Even monitoring has a lot of lacunas. That is what my experience of working with the system is since 4 years. Specifically, I'm talking of women and child development at state as well as district level in Maharashtra. So Maharashtra is one of the states where I am working. So it is, India is not a country, it is continent. So Maharashtra, if would have been a separate nation by population, it would have been 6th or 7th biggest nation of the world. So Department of Women and Child Development, where I work, we serve to 70 lakh, which is 7 million children under age 6, which is more than population of New Zealand, just children. It's a very vast geography, number one thing. Number two thing, lot of, posts are vacant. Lot of, decisions have to be taken very fast. So there is no, scope for, evaluation component. And when I came into such system and I was, trained as a researcher and so to say, the fundamentals of monitoring and evaluation. When I came into the system, the very basic, I had to work upon very basic of things. How to, collect quality data. Monitoring evaluation will come, but let us have, quality data in hand first to talk about monitoring and evaluation. So how evidence is collected. First of all, not every time evidence is collected within the system as and when required, or if it is, like for example, like Hemanshu was mentioning, when Niti will start pushing in, start using these frameworks and start using this, then the culture of database decisions will slowly start happening. That being said, there are certain major decisions which has to be taken, and because of uh, very, so to say, intelligent officers, some decision makers, they push the field functionaries, or push us to justify our actions. So when Mark was mentioning previously how many people become accidental evaluators. So the officers here tend to, they are not meant to be evaluators, but they are sort of circumstantially happen to become evaluators. So therefore, the fundamental knowledge of monitoring evaluation is very, very essential for whoever is working with the system, any department within the government. I was very fortunate to study few concepts as part of my master's and later PhD work. So I think I could answer your question. The first part is, it is very essential to have the understandings of fundamentals. That being said, working with the system, you cannot just rely on your academic understanding of things. There are many other soft skills and other things that you have to understand. And I would say within the line departments at state and district level, the culture of using data for decision making is gradually coming up. And as the center gets more and more strengthened and frameworks are generated, I hope in coming years it will become more robust. Yeah, I hope I could answer the question.
Yeah, actually, Digvijay, thank you so much. And one thing highlighted me in your answer was the importance of understanding some basic principles of monitoring, evaluation, and how data can be used in decision making. And with this thread, I want to take this discussion to Mark and ask you, Mark, that we have seen that there are ample of opportunities in all of domains, whether it's government, private, or community. And we have seen that there is a clear role for M&E and evidence-based practices. But for youngsters, but how do youngsters prepare themselves, build their competencies and capacities so that they can take this role with confidence and eventually contribute into this sustainable development goal? You have done a professional course in M&E, so I think your insight will be very helpful for all our participants today on how one can formally or informally improve their competencies related to MEL.
Well, thank you. Great question. Yes, now looking at it, and I would want to actually mention this, to realize the full potential of the YEE transformational power, we need to put down different pathways for YEEs to strengthen themselves as evaluators. Formal courses is good, having an undergraduate degree, having a postgraduate degree, but there is the need to be very intentional in having a mentorship program that could be part and help in knowledge gain, in the practical skills gain, and actually expose the YEEs in different evaluator needs spectrum. So looking at that and having that context, I would like to just mention a few across the globe that I've seen that they have worked. Ourselves at EvalYouth, we have a mentoring program. This mentoring program, we put out a call across the globe to have qualified or seasoned evaluators who will work with our young and emerging evaluators within the network. And you find this is a session where you have, you work with someone for like 3 months, who is seasoned. You find a program, you work with them, they help you build your capacities and your skill, and even expose you to different spectrums in evaluation. Again, I've seen IPDETs. We did a hackathon event in 2020. It was a great exposure for the youth, basically across the globe, to engage and see good ideas, brainstorm, and people come up with ideas that actually people got to be awarded great things. I think actually the idea that won, they got a reward, and the bank is funding that idea to actualize it. I've seen the same with SAMIA, the South Africa Monitoring and Evaluation Association. Again, we had a hackathon last year, and the idea is to expose the youth, the YEEs, and help them and give them a platform to fully express themselves, share their ideas, and be able to just work around that to realize something. The last one that I could mention in that line is the IOCE Leadership Bootcamp, because I know a number of years here, we are leaders in our spectrum. We lead in different areas. This bootcamp, it's aimed to, again, to expose you, and it's a very good place for the YEEs, so that they learn, because we are interacting with the seasoned evaluators. So to that end, practical and theoretical knowledge is key to become a strong evaluator. Also, getting exposure to evaluation on specific sectors is important. And here again, I would highlight something very good that we are doing. We are doing a collaboration with UNFPA, where we recruited different YEEs from across the globe to participate in an evaluation right from onset, even how to draft the call for a consultant, the TOR. Again, they'll putting it out there, recruiting and managing that work to the end. They'll be soon finishing the work. So it's work in progress. And these are opportunities that will give the YEEs beyond skills, beyond just learning. And just to put myself into context, I've done a monitoring and evaluation master's degree. And through my voluntary work, I've learned a lot, and I've actually unlearned many things that even learned other things that we didn't learn in school. And it's through this exposure of mentoring and looking at it in that purview. We have P2P regional chapters. Again, this is another place where YEEs can learn a lot, because you interact with, it's a safe space for the youth. You come, you're able to talk about your fears. People are able to tell you and guide you on how to go about it. So this is looking forward and having that lens for the future. It's good to have a mentoring program, a mentorship program, where YEEs across the continent have platforms to be mentored. Mentoring goes above and way beyond just the usual class training. Yeah, I hope I've managed to answer your question well.
Yes, Mark. And again, request all the participants to check the wonderful work done by all the national WOPEs and evaluate chapters of regional and national chapters, as all of them are organizing a few series of capacity building workshop, webinars, case competitions. So that will be very helpful for building and strengthening their capacities. I take a moment here and thank both May and Niharika to actually, their presence has made this truly a panel and not a manel. And with that, I want to ask Niharika to share with us few experiences of working in this domain as a woman, as a female professional. I'm very certain that this experience will help us understand and in a way help our understanding with what are the experiences faced by female professionals. Over to you, Niharika.
Thanks, Umesh. So I think I assume everyone's aware that we have a very wide spectrum of programming and monitoring and evaluation systems that range from gender blind to absolutely gender transformative, right? So when we do gender transformative evaluations or gender responsive evaluations, we try a lot to disaggregate the data by gender, not just the data, the questions that we ask, not just quantitative indicators, but we also are looking for stories, right? The qualitative insights that come from the field. I think that being said, there is a certain, with programming that is specifically targeted towards women, I think there is a certain level of comfort that women evaluators or women data collectors bring on board, which I have seen. Just a few days back, I was doing this interview panel virtually only with a couple of young people as in kids. And I didn't have to do much. They would automatically call me Didi, which translates elder sister in Hindi, and it would be very seamless. That also, again, that being said, I have also seen situations in one of our recent projects in Bangladesh where it was a field related work, and we requested, and the entire program was based, all the beneficiaries were women in very, very far-flung areas of Bangladesh. And we had to have women researchers go down to these areas. But unfortunately, the partner was not very keen because of safety reasons, right? And these are genuine concerns. It's not probably a narrow question of not giving opportunities to women, but this is a wider systemic question of women's safety, right? So there's as a woman evaluator, as a woman data collector, I have a lot of opportunities to get good quality insights from the field, but may not get the opportunity to do that. So that's there. So, but I also want to say that there are very good practices also. I have always, I do a lot of proposal writing, and I work a lot, my firm works a lot with the UN, and I have seen it very consistently that all of the RFPs would really emphasize on gender balanced evaluation teams, which is a very, very important. It's a very important scoring criteria. Very recently, we are doing this evaluation for UNICEF in India of the Generation Unlimited program. And one of the very specific criteria in the request for proposals was, please make a concerted effort to include young people as a part of the evaluation team itself, right? And we, more than, I think, 4 people in the team were YEEs under the age of 35, including our M&E expert, by the way. So that's really brilliant. So there are both sides, and I think specifically for programs oriented towards gender oriented or youth focused programs, I do feel that young people and young women do bring a lot on board, but there is a strong need to create that ecosystem around enabling that.
Thank you so much, Niharika. I think the gendered lens and gender perspective has to be included in all the evaluation works and monitoring work. I want to ask Sakio about this interesting question about involvement of YEs on communities in M&E work, and how non-profit organizations see the monitoring and evaluation work, and whether they involve youngsters from local communities where they contribute into the kind of work that they do.
Yes, thank you for that question, Miss. I think that's a good question. And I'd like to, first of all, share the context of work here at Pacific. Pacific Island countries, as some of you may know, is a country that is a small island developing state, and their economy relies heavily on migration, remittances, donor funding, and international aid. And so, and most of the most of the NGOs here in the Pacific depends. They depend and they survive mainly on donor funding, especially from Australia, DFAT, New Zealand and PAT, US AID, European Union, British government. They always keep funding to civil society organizations here at the Pacific to carry out program and projects to deliver intervention that will help improve the lives of people who are at the grassroots level. And so these donors, I think they always have the results framework, logical framework included into the contract agreement, so that implementing partners like the non-government organization can always report back to them in terms of what is it that they have achieved from the money that they've used to implement these activities? What is it that they have achieved? What are some of the changes that they have made? Has the lives of women, young people, children in the communities improved or not? And I think NGOs nowadays in the Pacific have recognized that, and they always ensure that their M&E system is always robust to ensure that they are able to respond to the accountability criteria that the donor agencies have, and I think they always have. This is why they always emphasize having a strong M&E system in-house and make sure that the planning, monitoring, reporting, evaluation, learning of the implementation program is always there. And I think they've recognized that, and they recognize that that is important for their sustainability. That is important for the sustainability because that's what the donors want. And I think community participation is important. Young emerging evaluators, their participation, young people, especially their participation is important because some of these donors, they really want young people, they really want women, they really want children to be part of this development and to be part of the decision making, etc. And I think having to ensure that this community participation is important because community people, these are the right holders to all these interventions, then they are in a better position to tell us whether the services or the intervention that are being provided really solve the kind of issues that they face every day, whether it really make an impact in their lives. And there's no point implementing activities if it's not does not help their transform their life, does not help solve the issues, the problem that they're facing in the community. And I think M&E system is really important here in the Pacific in terms of the way NGOs look at things. Look at it. Yes. And yes, of course, young people is really important to be part of this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakio. I think the takeaway word for me is collaboration and involvement of all the stakeholders involved. And I want to take this thread and go to Digvijay because he's working with government and especially a state government. Digvijay, there is this perception, right, that there is sort of red tapeism and bureaucracy with government systems, and compared to say non-profit or a private organization, they are relatively trickier to or difficult to collaborate with. So as you are working with government of Maharashtra, how do you see if any young organization or young evaluator or private organization, if they want to collaborate with government systems and government programs, what are the ways in which they can contribute into the programs? And especially with the focus on the kind of monitoring and evaluation work youngsters nowadays are getting involved into, how do you suggest what is the best ways for collaboration with the government systems?
Yeah, so it's very true that government systems are red tapes, and there is no organized way of getting collaboration with the government system. But I think that we should always differentiate between individuals and the system. So when we talk of government, there are always people behind it. So at various level, there are various decision makers. At district level, collector or CEO Zilla Parishad, or head of various line departments. So ultimately, the decision of bringing you in is in the hand of a decision maker, a particular person. So rather than getting caught up with that fear of red tape of the government system, it's always good to look at individuals within, or the decision makers within the system. That being said, there are no organized way of connecting with the system. At Rajmata Mission, we are trying to build that. So I saw one question about interns. So we regularly have a lot of interns, and I'm very happy that few of our interns have gone to become full-time evaluators, or something related to evaluation they are working on. I would say a systematic approach could be find a problem which is painful for a decision maker in the area that you are interested in. Like, for example, I'm interested in women and child development, especially child malnutrition, and I'm good with data systems and things like that, and I want to, let's say, evaluate how this particular scheme is running in this district, outcome of which can support a decision maker with this specific decisions, which will help him or her in expanding the program, reducing or reorienting the program. So identifying those key pain points of a decision maker are very important, which is, of course, that itself is not very easy. You have to take some guidance on that. That being done, you directly approach people. So for example, I know 4 or 5 IAS officers who are very happy to host interns. And like previously Niharika was mentioning how to get into it. The first experiences as part of even when you are studying, those kind of internships or field experiences can really support the further next step of in your career of evaluation. So always approach individuals, and I think there is a lot of scope. There are not many intelligent people within the system, frankly speaking. If you have good skill set, if you have that perseverance and let's say ability to solve real life problems through your knowledge, you will be very welcomed. So for example, when I was working in district, I did what I simply did was analyze the data in a pivot table in an Excel, and when I showed it to my IAS officer, CEO Zilla Parishad, he said I did work of 8 people. So very simple, Excel concepts and data management things can be very helpful, which will give you entrance into the system. And from there onwards, you can build up your pathway for career.
Thank you, Digvijay. And I think you mentioned that, right? If you have skills and if you have specific knowledge, and I want to simplify and I want Hemanshu to break it for all of our audience today. Hemanshu, what are the specific skills or what are the specific domain M&E knowledge concept that one YE is expected to have before he joins, or which makes him eligible to contribute into say M&E domain, as you are working in this domain for a few years, and how in general WOPEs and evaluate regional chapters and all the stakeholders can come together and develop this desired skill set of our youngsters. So please break it down for our audience that Hemanshu mentioned some of the basic skills and knowledge domains. It will be very helpful.
Yes, thanks, Umesh. So I think much of the aspects of this thing are covered by the fellow panelists. I would like to answer it broadly, but I would like other panelists to chip in and share their experience, and if I miss on some point. So how I see it as so evaluation itself, evaluation study, a specific evaluation study, and a career of an evaluator in his professional career, and even in the cycle of the evaluation, he takes different roles, as mentioned by Niharika also, that sometimes he's a data collector, Sometimes he's designing the questionnaire, sometimes he is designing the methodology, sometimes he's analyzing the data, writing the report, advocating the findings. So an evaluator takes on a different role. Okay, so there are basically two things that an emerging evaluator requires. For being an emerging evaluator, a person requires basically two things, as pointed out by Mark. One is the technical knowledge of the domain of M&E, of writing a questionnaire, or so how to conduct a FGD, or how to collect data, what are the guide, how to be an enumerator on field, how to conduct large scale survey. So these are some of the things that you learn, and how to design indicators, for example. So this is the technical knowledge that you learn in a classroom. Okay, so you may learn this through a professional course or attending a short term training courses. This learning will happen in a classroom, and it is technical in nature, basically theoretical in nature. The other thing is the practical aspect of it, or the field skill, what I would call the soft skill or the field skill, that one cultivates after practicing those learnings that he had in the classroom while testing them on field. Okay, so these learnings will actually shape uh, the attitude and temperament of the evaluator while he goes on field. So so the now question would be, how a person who wants to be an evaluator have the experience itself even before joining an organization as an evaluator. So the answer to this is internship and working as a volunteer with organizations, as pointed out by Mark also, that these evaluators, the aspirational evaluators, they need to uh, have a mentor. So in the beginning, what they can do, they can uh, work as a volunteer or do internships. Like I know myself, I also did an internship. I worked on field with different organizations, in different capacities, to understand how the particular thing is working. So this experience provides you the learning that you have from this, actually uh, uh, is complementary to what you learn in the classroom, and then later on uh, you are able to uh, apply for an organization which is actually working as a professional. You can apply to such an organization which is working in the M&E field. So this is broadly how I answered. Although I did not answer it specific skills that are required, but the only thing I would like to say, any person would not reach a point when he knows everything about evaluation, so that he's waiting that I will learn the evaluation and then I would join an organization. You have to join it, and most of the learning will happen after that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Himanshu. That was very helpful, and I've tried to put it for the audience because I think that is very critical. Now I want to take this question to our chair for the session today, and Dharti. A lot of us are seeing that a lot of these evaluations are either done by organization as a service, but uh, majority of them are done by individual independent evaluators, right? And I think you also have experience of working as an independent evaluator. Can you share your experiences of working as an independent evaluator, and what are some of the challenges and opportunities for YEEs in this aspect?
Okay, thank you, Mesh. So yes, so I am a not so young but emerging evaluator and researcher here in the Philippines. So I used to work for a development organization in implementing a project on child labor here in the Philippines. And after that, I went straight to become an external evaluator. My colleagues and I started a small startup consulting firm here in the Philippines, and our goal was really to provide evaluation and research um, support to development organizations, because we saw the need for organizations to support organizations with these types of services. And um, starting out as an independent evaluator was really quite a challenge, because although I think I have like research skills, but evaluation is a totally different dimension. And in my case, we had former colleagues who were also partly doing evaluations, and we had also some sort of mentoring as well. But I did a lot of self-learning at the start, and really, as mentioned initially, I learned by doing, reading, and then doing what I read in reports, in manuals, in guides that I could find to help me become the evaluator that organizations are looking for. And so one of the challenges that I would highlight is the imposter syndrome. At the start, I was self-doubting. I was really second-guessing myself. Could I really do this? Do I really have the skills to do this? So when you're applying for a project, for example, what a commissioning organization is looking for an evaluator. So I would always ask myself, is this something that I could do? Is this something that's within my skill set? So I was always in that mindset at the start, but then I realized that in order to be that confident evaluator, I also need to beef up my skill set. And that's where Evaluate comes in, because I started also as a mentee for the Evaluate Global Mentoring Program. And then from there, I started seeking opportunities in academic institutions. I applied for a scholarship to study development evaluation management masters in Belgium. So I finished that earlier, and by really looking for different avenues to beef up your knowledge, technical and soft, in the field of evaluation, then we can start to be more confident in the competence that we have as evaluators. And I would say in evaluation, learning never ends. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that we can
Yes.
explore when
Yes.
you're in the evaluation profession.
Yeah. We also on our panel have Niharika, who has worked as an independent evaluator. So Niharika, if you can add something.
Yes. So I think I'll say that, Digvijay mentioned something around understanding the need. He spoke about understanding the need of the policymaker, but you have to always understand why an independent evaluation is commissioned. It's commissioned for learning, specific learnings. And I think just the entire process of understanding why you want to do the evaluation, it has to be very utilization focused, is the technical word that we use when we do the evaluations, when we write our reports. I think that's a very important skill to build early on. And I think another soft skills, a lot of people spoke about it, but I think the real challenge comes when there is complexity. There are many stakeholders with many conflicting views, and how do you get them on board with these conflicting opinions, and how do you sort of steer because the evaluation is being done to take the program forward, right, or to see what can be done better. So I think, again, these are negotiation skills, and you will realize that as a young person you will be facilitating all of this. So here I think the facilitation skill becomes very important. Again, understanding expectations. You are at one point of time you will be speaking with a beneficiary at the grassroots. Another time you will be speaking with a CEO of a top global firm, or a minister of a very big ministry in a government. Understanding, taking yourself to their level, I think that's also there. So I think getting comfortable with complexity and conflict, not violence, but conflict, and understanding what your stakeholders truly need is something that I've really picked up a lot on from independent evaluation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Niharika. And I think what we will do ahead is, as we are celebrating the contribution of all our esteemed panelists into evaluation domain, I want every 6 of our panelists to ponder upon their experience and professional life, look back, and give us one takeaway, the message that our audience today can take, that will help them shape their journey as a evaluator or monitoring professional, or a professional into in this world. So please share that one learning from your journey that will enrich our experiences. The order we follow: Digvijay, Niharika, May, Sakio, Mark, and Hemanshu.
Yeah. So picking out one is difficult.
No problem. You can like maybe chip in two. We are running out of shots. That's why maybe the most important, but even two is okay. More the merrier.
I think the social sector in itself, the development sector, is very unorganized. One important takeaway would be that you keep talking with people around and find people to talk with, hear from them, take guidance. That is very important skill set, which really helps you, create that network. Learning happens, unlearning happens, and forums like this, forums like Evaluate are very, very vital for young people, especially. That would be one. Second would be, let there be, so be open to getting your perceptions getting smashed, especially within the system. When I started working, I had this, I will learn, I will go there, I'll solve this problem, and now it is done. But when we actually start solving or start talking with people, you understand, like Niharika was mentioning, bringing all those people with different interests and conflicts together. You're also one of them, and your perception are broken. So be open to that, and that is how we grow. And I think this is two I would add.
Niharika?
Yes. So I will not repeat, just maybe two things. One would be always, keep learning, have that learning mindset. And second would be have confidence in yourself. Maybe you are young, but that doesn't mean that you are incapable. So, yeah.
Yeah. May?
Like for me is I think the emphasis on building your network, so either like mentors or clients or fellow YEEs where you can learn and just network and talk about your practice in evaluation. I think that really helps especially when you're starting your career in evaluation.
Yeah. Sakio?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll just share my experience in a very brief way. I'm 34 years old. I was brought up in the village. There's no electricity, etc. And I did my Bachelor of Public Health from the Fiji National University. I work as a research assistant and then have the opportunity to work in an NGO. And I think while working in the NGO, having an exposure in monitoring evaluation, I think I managed to develop the passion, and the motivation for me is to help the people. And evaluation is one activity I think really that is really important, because it makes you you are in a position that you assess the project, assess the implementation of the project, look at the effectiveness of that particular intervention, the efficiency, sustainability of those interventions, and ensuring that whatever activity is being done, it helps improve the lives of the people. And I think that is the motivation I have. And I think motivation is important. Thank you.
Mark?
Yes, one quick one. Have skin in the game. You will meet voices, and as a young and emerging evaluator, have skin in the game. Don't give up. Yes, that's one big takeaway that actually has worked for me. Skin in the game.
Hemanshu?
So, I'll share one story. Then one of my
Maybe
advice.
briefly, yes. Like I have to manage time, but yes, briefly, yes.
So I'll skip the story then.
No, please go ahead.
So I was in field once, and we had this PRA activity of social mapping and resource mapping. So we were in a tribal village. So so everyone mapped their houses, and there was one woman. She was insisting to write her husband's name along with the house that she drew. So nobody else was doing that, but she kept on insisting. If other villagers left, and until I did that, she was not satisfied. So I just wrote her husband's name, and in response, she just kept a coin of 5 rupees there and went away. So so um, so my suggestion would be, try to get the perspective of the beneficiary on the ground as fast as you can. Okay, this is my first advice. Try to think from the perspective of the beneficiary, their background, what they are thinking of you, and everything. Another advice would be, when you go on field, go with an attitude of avoiding to teach them. For example, to teach them the benefits of nutrition for their child, or school enrollment. So uh, we are we have learned that, and we think we know that, and we go on the field and try to teach them that thing, instead of understanding what are their difficulties, why they are not thinking of that particular thing. So just go in field with a mindset of understanding them. This is my advice.
Okay, okay, these are very valuable inputs from real lives and your journeys. Thank you so much for the wonderful discussion, guys. We have some audience questions that are coming our way. We have one for Mark related to specific on professional courses and scholarships. So over to you, Mark. And we have one for Niharika. I will lead the questions. First for Mark.
All right. Yeah, thank you for the question, Obanzi. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. There are many scholarships that you would find. So I'll just give one university across the globe. So starting from Australia, Melbourne University gives a scholarship. When you come to Africa, we have University of Nairobi. There are quite a number from the list that I shared. The Latin America and the North America, most of the universities give scholarships. Europe, there is Antwerp University in Belgium that also gives scholarships. Then there are a number of institutions. We have Encompass Learning that actually from Evaluate, we have an MOU with them. So we usually give at least one scholar, one person, at least one or two, depending on the cases that, on how the caseload is, to attend their training. Right now, we'll be giving one today, and in April, we have another one. And also in May, we have another one. Across the year, we have. Then also check out IPDET. They have lots of scholarships in that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Niharika, Shenaz Rashid wants to ask that apart from the internship and volunteering opportunities, are there permanent role for freshers starting their careers in M&E domain?
I would certainly say yes. Definitely for private organizations, yes, definitely. Then I think there are a lot of fellowship opportunities which give you the chance as freshers to go on the field and be a program officer and be also involved in monitoring and evaluation. My knowledge comes from the Indian domain. I don't know what I will say would be relevant or not, but these kind of opportunities do exist. Why do volunteering? I still want to say that why do volunteering and internships become important is because they are a signaling effect. So even if you do not have a full-time job before you sort of enter, the courses that you take, probably the grades that you get in those, the volunteer work that you do, what you did in that volunteer work, even if it's not with a very known organization, and the internship that you did is a very positive signaling effect. There was also a question on what kind of skill sets are needed as a fresher, right? I think, of course, analyzing data, I'll not go there, right? Let me talk about something very basic, something that if you can demonstrate, right, to your employer or wherever you are going for a job in evaluation, how well you think, how can you structure problems, very complex problem statements we deal with, and they are affected by a lot of different factors. Malnutrition is a function of so many different factors. How can you structure it? How can you find the root causes, and how can you work around that? And I think then, of course, comes data analysis and all. So the data analysis will come only when you structure it, right? How well you think, I think, is if you can somehow demonstrate that, communication, of course, is a very, very important skill, written and verbal communication. So that is something that these two skills, if you can demonstrate, then you're good to go as a fresher. And of course, data analysis we learn on the job as well.
Yeah. I think we have a last question for the day, and I think I will direct this question to May and Mark. There is a question about sustainability of national VOPEs and evaluate chapters, and it is clear question that how can these initiatives be sustained over a long period of time. So one clear input that I can say is get as many as youngsters joined as possible. But yes, to you, May and Mark. I think you are on mute.
Oh.
Go ahead, Mark. I can start, or
yeah,
I can start.
Please.
Okay, so for Evaluate Asia, I think one of the strategies that we have is really to build the capacity of as many young and emerging evaluators and involve them in initiatives as much as possible, and building like second liners. So, for example, a lot of our original co-leaders are already pursuing different jobs and in different arenas, and we need to have second liners. So there's really a strategy as well to get more young and emerging evaluators to become the second liners or the second line leaders in the Evaluate Asia organization.
Thank you. It's mine now to jump in. I will talk at least on two contexts. From Evaluate perspective, in Evaluate, we have a budget that we actually support regional chapters. Asia, Evaluate Asia is actually a beneficiary. Last year, last year we really sponsored your activities. So we want to give people that strength that they can actually plan, and we just need a report, walk us through, and then we approve. That's a way of just building the esteem for the YEEs to feel. Then on the VOPE or regional and national levels, and again, this requires a little bit of a soft touch, because you find lots of politics when it comes to the VOPEs in the regional levels, yeah? So one thing that I actually advocate and campaign for the youth persons is align yourself with the leadership so that you become next in line, of course. And then you'll be able to build your capacity. And I would give myself as an example where I support the AFREA board as a co-chair, and the Evolve for Action campaign that we did, we actually organized, it was led by the AFREA YEE network, and we organized that. We are seeing the leadership trusting when you show that zeal to continue working and volunteering, and actually just saying, I'm here and I don't know much, I'm happy to learn from you. That really puts you in a good spot, and you're able to build your capacity, and then we are able to see sustainability as we move across. Yeah.
I think due to paucity of time, we are taking this again last question, but very briefly, Niharika and Hemanshu would want to know that whether YEEs have choice to have preference in the policy domains and particular areas while picking an M&A assignment. So very briefly, and then we'll go to May for summary. Niharika, to you.
Yes, just 2 sentences on private sector. I think to an extent, it does vary across organizations, but you would have the flexibility to work on different kinds of projects. Again, depends on the kind of projects your organization would have at the moment, and if to also if you join an organization that specializes in very specific niche evaluation, then obviously that's not possible. But if you join a sector agnostic organization, certainly possible. Over to
you, Hemanshu.
Yes. So the assignment, the same applies to the government also. There is some mandate from the higher authorities that you have to work on certain schemes and certain programs. Apart from them, the management also asks us for our interest and our background. So based on that also, they provide us the specific task of coordinating with certain ministry and working on certain sectors. So they do take into account our past experience and our aspirations, and it also depends on what is the overall goal of the organization and in which sectors they are planning to work on.
Yeah. One quick input that I would want to add to this question is, it is a lot of it depend on what kind of background and skill set and knowledge that you bring onto the table. For a specific choice of or interest of domain, do you have the sectoral knowledge? And if the organization is giving the choice, I think obviously anyone who can contribute in domain will be happy to have such a professional on the team. I think with this wonderful discussion, it's now time us to give the mic to May for doing her role as a chair. I also request May to introduce herself because there was some glitch that during her introductions we skipped that. Over to you, May.
Okay, thank you so much, Umesh, and I'd like to thank our panelists really for this very very insightful discussion with all of you on the role of YEs in the evaluation ecosystem. And as we've discussed over the 10, 12 questions that we prepared for this session, we really see that there is a lot of avenues where YEEs and young people can take part in the evaluation system, both at the private and the public sector. And for those who are wanting to start a career in the evaluation and in the M&E sector, there are also a lot of professional courses as well as capacity building activities and initiatives. You just have to look for them, and we have some resources shared by Mark to help us find the right opportunity to build our skill set, our career. But again, one of the things that was highlighted here is that technical skills is one thing, but building soft skills is also an important part of building your competence as an evaluator. And this is something that we should also consider really building up or beefing up in our skill set as well. So both technical and soft skills are important for us as evaluators in this field. And again, I just like to reiterate again I really find the lessons that you mentioned earlier very insightful. So I'd like to reiterate them again. So our panelists have said that for us to be good evaluators, competent evaluators, and we have to continue learning. So never stop learning and building your networks, and have a clear motivation into what you really want to do in this field. And it's also good to have skin in the game, as Mark mentioned. So just be confident and don't give up if you really want to be in this field. And there's also the looking into the perspective of beneficiaries and really understanding them. It's really also a very, very good thing to consider when you're doing or when you're going into the evaluations field. So for those who are looking to volunteer or for volunteering opportunities, we have evaluate chapters here in the Asia Pacific region at the national chapters as well. So you can find those chapters in your countries or at the Asia or the global level. These offer really good volunteering opportunities to start your journey as an evaluator. And there's also a good resource that was shared earlier. You can go to mondaycareerhub.org. This was an initiative by Eval Youth and PhilDev. So you can go to that website to check out various resources, whether you're entry level or mid-career or a more seasoned evaluator. There are plenty of resources that you can find in that website to help you with what you're looking for in the evaluation field. So thank you so much again for our wonderful discussion with our panelists. Over to you, Umesh.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our chair for today, ladies and gentlemen, Miss May. She is a co-leader at Evaluate Asia and also co-founder of Enabler INC in Philippines. With this, I think I will over to you, Biswajit, for a round of a vote of thanks. Am I audible, Biswajit? Are you there? Okay, on behalf of all the organizers, let me thank all the panelists for taking out the time from their busy schedule. All of these are established professionals working in their respective domains. So we're truly appreciative of the time that you have taken out and shared your valuable insights, both from your professional experience, but also from the journey, from your individual journey. The insights were so valuable, and I'm very sure that the youngsters and all the participants and audience who joined today could take some takeaway from this discussion that we had. I personally enjoyed this a lot. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the organizers and sponsors for organizing this wonderful event. I also want to thank all the volunteers for working tirelessly during the production and all the administrative tasks to make this event successful. We would like to thank Yatin and Biswajit for leading this session, and if not all the audience and participants who have taken out time and joined us. We are more than, at time I checked, we are more than 54 participants and audience in this session. So I take this as the message that we discussed, that there is a clear role for young evaluators and monitoring professional into making this world better and towards a sustainable future for all of us, and how we can contribute that. I believe such events add value to individual journeys. And with that, we thank you all and conclude this event. Thank you so much. Hey, Biswajit, I sorry, I think in your absence, I did the honors of vote of thanks, but I think you can formally thank all the participants. Over to you, Biswajit.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Biswajit, yes.
Yeah, I think just quickly, while I was listening to the conversation from everyone, so interesting. And I think I would put it in perspective in two words. I think pure, it's a public and private partnership that we had, all of us together. So we have Hemanshu and Digvijay from the government, and we have May from being a startup hustle, being a founder, and Niharika from the private perspective, and two international with exposure from Africa and Pacific. So I think the takeaway for all of us should be that with the partnership, I think things will grow faster. And if we try in silos, probably it will take a lot of time. So the key message from all of us would be to build that coherent partnership and take the legacy forward, and welcome all of you to join the VOPs that are our partners, and including our organization and all the valued initiatives that are happening around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Biswajit. And I request all the participants to check out the respective national VOPE pages, the Evaluate chapters. These organizations and the volunteers are putting some brilliant courses, webinars, programs for capacity building and networking, strengthening in your respective region. It will be great help for you and also for strengthening this ecosystem. And eventually we'll take this to a better professionalization of MN in your team. Thank you so much for joining. With your permission, May, Chair Ma'am, then we conclude this session.
Thank you, Umesh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.